I'm going to go ahead and get us started. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for tuning into our presentation today. My name is Patrick Gardner with Bank of the West, and I am your 2023 SFAR Chair for the Education and Events Committee. On behalf of the committee and SFAR, I'd like to welcome you to our interview and dialogue with LinkedIn and marketing expert, Angela Dunes, on the top 3 LinkedIn secrets for real estate professionals. Good morning, Angela, and welcome.
Good morning. I'm so happy to be here.
Before we get started with Angela's presentation, I'd like to briefly go over some SFAR webinar best practices and norms. During the presentation, all Zoom audience viewers will be on mute. Please try to refrain from using the chat feature to carry on side conversations, as it can distract from the presenter's presentation. If you have questions during the presentation, they can be asked by typing into the Q&A portal. We will try to get to all of the posted questions throughout the presentation and at the end during our Q&A session. As a reminder, our presentation will be recorded and may be viewed on the SFAR social YouTube channel with a variety of other Zoom webinars we have done over the past few years. There's quite a collection of dynamic videos and topics in there, so check it out. We have a very informative and insightful program today brought to you by the Events and Education Committee. I want to give credit for my introduction to Angela to another loan specialist, Sophia Najabi of Golden Gate Lending, your Bay Area bridge loan specialist. Thanks, Sophia, for bringing Angela to your function and putting her on my radar for SFAR presenters. Now about our presenter today. Angela calls herself the accidental entrepreneur. Having moved to the Bay Area with her shiny new MBA and dreams of being a chief marketing officer, instead, she now helps high-level professionals to use LinkedIn to build their business and reputation. She is an expert in business development, professional branding, visibility, and optimization on LinkedIn. Without a website, she built her entire vibrant business using free LinkedIn services. She's also a former high school rodeo champ, which I want to hear more about, and lives in Marin, with hiking and the weather up there being just fabulous. Being originally from Wisconsin, she is a diehard Green Bay Packers fan and shareholder. Well, unfortunately, there's always next year. Today, she'll be discussing the top 3 LinkedIn secrets for real estate professionals. She focuses on simple, strategic, actionable ways to keep you top of mind. You can look her up on LinkedIn. I will post her LinkedIn profile in chat to start the conversation with her after this one. Please stay tuned with us today and bring your questions and dialogue in the Q&A chat to add to this hands-on session. Also, you may want to open up your own LinkedIn profile while we have this discussion. Angela, welcome, and thanks for being here.
I'm so happy to be here today. This is what I enjoy doing most. I love being able to help other professionals figure out and sort of empower them around how to do self-promotion in a way that really builds your business. So I'm not going to take a lot of time on the intro. I'm just going to dive right into the slideshow. And if you have questions, I want you to please share them in either the Q&A or the chat. Patrick is going to be monitoring that, and he's going to direct those questions to me. And I love the questions. I would rather have a lot of questions, and there is no such thing as a silly question. What do you want to know about LinkedIn? So I'll keep the presentation to a reasonable length so we can open it up for Q&A at the end. So this is LinkedIn Secrets for Badasses. And my very first question for you guys is, why are you on LinkedIn? Now, that may seem like a super strange question, but I think it's really important. Some people tell me, well, Angela, you have to be on LinkedIn. And that really disturbs me. I think that you should make a conscious and intentional choice to be on LinkedIn. And so why is it that you're there? Is it there to build your network, to nurture and create new relationships? Is it to drive traffic to your website or another place where people are more likely to make a purchasing type decision? Are you there to establish your credibility? Are you trying to be more visible and top of mind with your ideal audience? What are your reasons for being on LinkedIn? And I really want you to spend some time today thinking about, how does LinkedIn fit into your business model and your special personality that you bring to your profession? So my next question is, are you proud of your LinkedIn profile? If you are not proud of your LinkedIn profile, it is not going to work as well for you. You really need to own your profile and rock whatever it is that's your personal and professional brand. And I really want to point out something about this lion. We all know what a lion is. He doesn't have to roar or stomp about for you to know exactly who he is. And that's what's really magical about branding. If your brand precedes you, like a lion's reputation precedes him, he's just sitting there doing nothing. He's just being a lion. But we all know what his reputation and his brand is. That is an eloquent brand. You don't need to shout it from the rooftops. It just is who you are, your reputation, your special something, something, and your people will find you. So how much time do you spend on LinkedIn? I hear people say all the time, oh, Angela, LinkedIn doesn't work. Well, if you don't spend any time on LinkedIn, of course it doesn't work. It is not a build it and they will come. So do you spend 15 minutes a day or so? You check in maybe 3 times a week, once a week, a couple times a month, or a couple times a year. And if you feel comfortable to do so, go ahead and share in the chat what your MO is on LinkedIn, and let some of your colleagues know what is the average in your industry. How much time are you actually spending on LinkedIn? And then my last question for you before I really get started is your profile completely filled out and up to date? A complete profile that's completely up to date is far more reputable and engaging than something that hasn't been updated for a couple of years. So, Patrick, I would really like to thank you for inviting me today. And thank you to the association for having these educational things to really build the reputations and businesses of its membership. It's awesome. So, there are 900 million people on LinkedIn. And that's a really big number. LinkedIn is about the smallest of all of the legacy social media channels. YouTube is about 17 times larger than LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is the only B2B platform on the planet. It is the only one that was designed to connect professionals for the right opportunities. How are you going to stand out from those 900 million people? So here's a couple of things that I really want you to think about. And like Patrick said at the very beginning, if you have your profile open, it's going to be super helpful. So are you using all 8 of these different things on your profile? Number 1, the headline. Most people default for the headline is your title, and no one cares. I'm just going to tell you, nobody cares what your title is. What they're interested in knowing is what you can do for them. And we'll talk much more in depth about the headline later. Are you using a banner? It is the largest piece of real estate that you have on your profile, and it is your best opportunity for brand recognition and reputation. There's also a thing called My Story that is connected to your profile photo. It is a 30-second introduction that you can make of yourself and point out areas that you'd like people to pay attention to on your profile. There's no faster way to know, like, and trust than using video. Creator mode is another thing that LinkedIn has added that allows you a lot of different options, and it increases your findability by a factor of 5. Now, most people have not paid any attention to their contact information in years. And if you don't have a professional email address, your phone number, your current website, and some other resources in there, like a calendar link, so somebody can actually get a hold of you and talk to you about your services, you're probably losing business just because your contact information isn't up to date. Now, if you have an interesting name to pronounce, the name pronunciation is a fantastic feature. Somebody can hear you pronounce your own name, and they can be very confident if they're introducing you at an event like this or at a networking event. You know, how many times have you stumbled around with somebody's last name or even their first name? Now, LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to be able to pronounce it yourself, to give other people the confidence of saying your name correctly. There's also a feature that's part of creator mode that's called the clickable link. If you look at the top of my profile, there is it says schedule a coffee chat. And that takes you directly to my calendar. And at least 2 or 3 times a week, I get an appointment from having it so handy like that. It's really easy for somebody to find. And it's super convenient. And I'll tell you, these days, especially since the pandemic, convenience is everything. And then also the company page. If you're not using a company page, or if you're not connected to your company's company page, you're losing opportunities for findability. This is a very large piece of optimization on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like an intranet inside of the intranet, with its own algorithms and crawlers and priorities for how they serve up information if you use the search feature. And having a company page is a 10x in findability on LinkedIn. So optimization is far more important than you think. So I'm going to go through my friend, colleague, and client's profile in great detail. This is the above the fold view. And with this particular view of your profile, you get 5 seconds to make an impression. So Sarah has a beautiful, well-branded, clean, sleek banner that lists the name of her company, her logo, and it tells you what she does. Now, brand recognition, right here, she has her company page completely filled out with her logo and everything else that she needs, some resources on that company page that'll drive you to her website. She uses the name pronunciation. That's what this little microphone thing is right here. She's also using, if you look at hers on the desktop, you can see her video that she has underneath her profile photo, welcoming you and talking to you about ART, her email productivity system. So let's look at her headline. My benchmark for a great headline is, can I hire you from what I've learned in your headline? She says, helping attorneys focus and get the right stuff done. Productivity coach, consultant, speaker, specifically for the legal industry. She is the CEO of Firm Focus and the creator of ART, the email productivity system. So you'll know, it's kind of like a sorting hat. You'll know immediately if she's who you're looking for or not. I consider this a very big professional courtesy to be able to let people know who you serve, what problem you solve, and what results you can bring if somebody has the enjoyment of working with you specifically. So creator mode is this part right here where you have all these little hashtags. Now, these should be quintessential hashtags for what you do. Email organization is part of Sarah's wheelhouse. Law firm efficiency, legal productivity, more time for lawyers, and attorney time management. Now, these are heavily weighted keywords that increase her findability. There are 3 places on your LinkedIn profile that are weighted very heavily for the search terms. Those 3 places are: number 1, the headline; number 2, creator mode; and number 3, the skills section, which most people haven't done anything with in at least a decade. And so those search terms in your skills section are what you're being found for. And I guarantee for many of you, you have search terms in there that you don't want to be found for anymore. And then right here at the very bottom, this is Sarah's clickable link. Need more time in your day? If you click this, it takes you straight to her calendar and you can talk to her about her productivity system. So, what do you remember about Sarah's profile? I want you to really think about that. We spent a lot longer than 5 seconds on her profile. What really stood out for you? And what you really should be thinking about is, what are you going to do about your profile because of what you just saw me explain with Sarah's? What's the first thing you're going to do to beef up your profile and keep people there for the full 5 seconds? So here in the Bay Area, we are super judgy about other people's profiles. What if you took some of that time and attention and turned it around onto your profile? So how long do you get to make an impression? Do you remember what I said? You get 5 seconds. 5 seconds go by real quick. And if they don't see what they're looking for, they're on to the next profile. So you have to make the absolute most of those 5 seconds. So what makes a great profile? So number 1, clarity. It needs to be exquisitely clear what it is that you do and who you do it for. No esoteric words, industry jargon, fluff, that kind of thing creates confusion and drives people to someone else's profile. Client focused. This is the number 1 mistake that most people make on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not about you. It is about what you can do for your ideal entry-level client. Keep LinkedIn client focused and you'll enjoy a great deal more success. Visual appeal. LinkedIn is social media. It is visual. If your profile is only words and there's nothing for people to look at and create an emotional connection to you with, it's not going to help you as much as it could. There's lots of opportunity there. And then last of all, it lets prospects know what the next step is. You want to invite them to do something, a call to action, whether it's schedule some time with you, or go to the website, or here's an infographic, or have you considered? You want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is inviting and is very clear about what is the next step in the process. So what does business development look like on LinkedIn? Number 1, you have to have a strong personal and professional brand, and that means your profile. Now, most people that I talk with, they really want to jump right into the business development part. And the thing that they skip is people are going to be looking at your profile. And if you don't have a great reputation and a great brand with your profile, you're going to lose whatever business you attract. So the first place to start, which is the most boring and the least sexy, is with your profile. So a strong personal and professional brand. Superior optimization so that you come up in the right searches for the right people. You also want to make sure that you establish your credibility. And you want to make sure that you're top of mind. And there are several different visibility strategies that you can use. I have 5 that I use with my clients. Only one of them is content. So, how do you attract people to your profile, make conversion easy? What is that golden formula for LinkedIn and social media? Well, that golden formula is visibility plus the value that you add for your ideal entry-level client and the consistency of your activity on the digital platform will gain you the influence that you need to have prospects consistently in your pipeline. Now, a lot of people think that LinkedIn is a direct conversion tool. In the real estate industry, you have high ticket items. Nobody is going to connect with you and say, hey, I want to buy a house from you, or hey, I want you to be my loan person. It takes time. What you're shooting for on LinkedIn is influence, being a thought leader, credibility. That's what you're shooting for on LinkedIn. So make sure that your focus is correct. LinkedIn is a mindset. And what breaks my heart when I do networking is people will say things to me like, oh, I hate LinkedIn. LinkedIn is overwhelming. LinkedIn is frustrating. And I feel really bad about that because it is, you're right. Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I swear at LinkedIn in a given week. But LinkedIn is a mindset. And what your mindset is about LinkedIn will determine and direct what your outcome is on LinkedIn. So I'm going to encourage you today to empower yourself and make friends with LinkedIn and learn how to use it simply in just a few minutes a day to really start to fuel your business development efforts. So here is the big seismic shift I would like you to make in your mindset. LinkedIn is not about you. It's not. It's about who you serve and what you provide and that customer service that comes along with it. It is about your ideal entry-level client and, most importantly, your referral partners. Now, I'm putting together a new website and I had my assistant do some research on referrals because I work with attorneys a lot and attorneys are like, oh, I don't need LinkedIn. I have all of my business comes to me through referrals, and that's great. But what do those referrals do? They say, oh, you need to work with so-and-so. And so-and-so, the first thing they do is they look at your LinkedIn profile. Now, if your LinkedIn profile is lacking, how do you think that referral feels? They're going to come back to that person and say, hey, why are you recommending him? They hardly showed up on LinkedIn. I don't understand what it is that they do. You want to make sure that your profile creates confidence in that referral person that looks at your profile. You want to make it abundantly clear what it is that you do and who you do it for and how you do it. That extra something that you add to things. So how much time do you spend on LinkedIn? I'm going to ask you that again because I think it's super important. Do you spend 10 to 15 minutes a day, 2 to 3 times a week, once a week, a couple times a month, or a couple times a quarter? And remember, your input will equal your output. And how big is your network? If it's less than 500, it's hardly a network. The more people you are connected to on LinkedIn, the more likely you are to have opportunities, and especially with referral partners. So constantly think about how you can supersaturate your network with the right kind of referral partners and professionals. LinkedIn is a relationship building tool, a networking tool, a follow-up tool, a visibility tool. Make sure that you're using it for the right part of your business development. LinkedIn is very effective at driving traffic. 52% of all social media traffic driven to websites comes from LinkedIn, not from YouTube, not from Facebook, not from TikTok. 52% comes from the smallest social media platform, but the only professional social media platform. LinkedIn is perfect for establishing credibility and trust. And it is also one of the best choices for staying top of mind. Content is still one of the least expensive, most effective ways of staying top of mind. And it's a really important part of the client journey. LinkedIn is not a direct conversion tool. It is not standalone lead generation. There has to be a process. It is not a build it and they will come site. It is not set it and forget it. It is very dynamic, and it is certainly not a magic wand. So I promised you 3 secrets for LinkedIn for professionals. So let's dive into that. Number 1, LinkedIn is not about you. It is about your ideal entry-level client and your referral partnerships. Number 2, it is not a direct conversion tool. There has to be a whole process, a funnel, a automation, something that really keeps you top of mind until timing, budget, and need all coincide for that person that is interested in you. It is not a build it and they will come. There is some effort required on your part. And then number 3, your effort will determine your results on LinkedIn. I teach my clients 10 minutes a day, 3 to 4 times a week, plus a half an hour once a month and another hour once a month to really stay top of mind and to build those relationships on LinkedIn. So I have a bonus secret for you about the optimization. So I did a search last night on LinkedIn and I typed in the word realtor and I came up with almost 2 million results. And how does this guy show up at the top of this almost 2 million results? Well, it's because of how his profile is optimized. He has more incidences of the word realtor in the right places on his profile so that he shows up number 1. So I narrowed down the search a little bit to only my first connections and only the San Francisco Bay area. And that narrows that entire search down to 103 people. Now, Yvonne came up number 1. She was the winner of the optimization contest this time. She has the word realtor in her profile enough times that out of those 103 people, she came up first. Now, if you're looking for a realtor, you're probably only going to look at the top 2 or 3. So if you don't come up in that top 2 or 3, you did not win the optimization game. So my question is, what action steps are you going to take because of what you learned today? Are you going to take some time to work on your above the fold view so that when somebody actually looks at your profile, what they say is clear and inviting and engaging? Or are you going to work on your visibility? Are you going to get into the newsfeed and comment on appropriate and relevant content? Are you going to share content yourself that's relevant and helpful to your ideal audience and referral partners? What action steps are you going to take? How many times have you watched something like this and gotten all jazzed up about how you're going to change things? Business development is something that is a habit, and it has to be engaged in regularly so that you can gain the benefit from it. And the thing that I struggle with the most is consistency. I'm one of those binger types. I get gun ho about something for a while and then I fall off the wagon completely. And seriously, social media requires consistency. And if that's something that is a problem for you, I have all kinds of little cheater methods for you to be consistent. There are scheduling tools for content. There are lots of things that you can do so that you can predetermine an entire month's worth of content to go out on your behalf and increase your visibility. So really think about, what are you going to do with what you've learned today? Let's keep the conversation going. Please do connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will drop my Linktree link into the chat, and there are one or two resources there for you that I'd love to share. And if you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, this is my QR code for LinkedIn. So if you have your phones handy and you go to LinkedIn, and if you put your finger right into that search bar on the top, it'll take you to where your QR code is. And if you scan mine, that'll directly connect us immediately. It's a little networking trick that's kind of fun. How many times have you tried to find the right person and either there's 20 of them and you don't know which one is them and their picture doesn't look very accurate, or you can't spell their name? Using your QR code will ensure that people find your LinkedIn profile really easily. And again, I would like to thank you so much for your time. And now I'm going to welcome your questions.
Angela, thank you very much. That was comprehensive and helpful. We're going to dive into questions. Can I just ask one more time? Because I was trying to do it as you were talking. The QR piece on LinkedIn, like where would I find it on my page?
So grab your phone.
Oh, on my phone. Got it.
Yep. Let's all do this together. So I'll walk through this
Got my
really.
phone.
So on your phone, on the LinkedIn app, at the very top on most Android and iPhones, there is a search bar. You want to just touch that search bar.
Uh-huh.
Way over on the right-hand side, there's this little grid thing. Can you see that? Excellent. And so you have a choice with that grid. It says either my code or scan.
Okay.
And if you want to scan, and Patrick, I will include these slides with any follow-up that you send to people for this. So I'm happy to share the slides.
Got it.
And
So it gives me my own QR.
it gives you your own. And if you hit
or
the
it
other
allows
side,
me to scan somebody else's.
so what is really cool about this, and you can use this the next time you do in-person networking, is if you're standing right next to someone, you can both use your phones to connect directly. So if everybody has their phones out and you're standing in a group of 7 people, you can connect to the other 6 people so fast.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you for that.
That's been around for about 5 years.
I'm not as young as these tech people, so I'm still catching up.
It's
All
it's
right.
a really fun, well, you know, we had 3 years when we didn't meet in person so much. So
Yeah.
a lot of people forgot about it.
All right. Well, let's jump into some of these questions because some of them are interesting. Jeremy starts with, glad you're here, Angela. So we have somebody
You're so
celebrating you.
welcome.
Anonymous question, has LinkedIn ever been hacked? How secure is the site in general?
I've only heard of one hack, and it was several years ago. They have had a global shutdown twice. And, you know, there are 3 people per minute joining LinkedIn. 3 people per minute. Now, just think about how many people that is in an hour, let alone in a day or in a week. The back end of managing and maintaining LinkedIn has become such a large animal that it provides some challenges.
And
But go ahead.
it was recently purchased by Microsoft, right?
That's about a decade ago. It got
10
Me,
years,
I'm
recent.
so, it's been a while, but they are, you know, before the pandemic, 40% of the active users of LinkedIn were baby boomers. And baby boomers are super hyper concerned about security. So LinkedIn uses the highest level of security possible. And they use people like myself, people who are LinkedIn consultants, to help them police LinkedIn. So if I see somebody that's doing anything that is not completely kosher or ethical, I will block them. If somebody gets blocked 10 times, they have their LinkedIn profile pulled for 3 days, 3 offenses, and they're blacklisted and banned from LinkedIn.
Ouch. All right. Well, we know how to keep people on the,
On the up and up.
yeah, not from spamming us. Okay. So Reed Rankin asks, I recently posted a market update on LinkedIn and it offered me an option to create a newsletter. I didn't use it because it wasn't clear how it worked. Are you familiar with this feature? Can you help?
Yes. The newsletter feature is a sub-function of creator mode. Some people have gotten the function without using creator mode, but the newsletter is one of the fastest growth methods you can use on LinkedIn. Now, I would say you want to be super strategic about how you use it. And my warning about that is if you start a newsletter on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden you get 3,000 people subscribing to your newsletter, just know that LinkedIn owns that list. You don't own that list. So I'll give you an example of how this works and what you should do about this. I recently worked with a friend of mine who has a very active company page. It's all about digital health, and that's a super hot topic. You know, healthcare apps and digitization is really a hot topic right now. He started a newsletter from that company page in November. He has 6,000 subscribers to that newsletter now. That's some super fast growth, but it's a very hot topic. So please keep that in mind. Now, what we're doing so that he can own his list is putting together a series of monthly webinars that people actually have to sign up for and give him their email address and permission to include them in a weekly newsletter. And that's how he can own his list and transfer that to his CRM rather than it living on LinkedIn. Which means that if LinkedIn went away tomorrow and some other technology disrupted it and we all switched over to something else, that he would lose his list. So you want to make sure that you make it very focused and very clear. The newsletter feature is something that doesn't allow you to invite people. It does a blast to your entire network. So you want to make sure that that very first one has a great introduction and you give people the option to opt out of it, because not everybody in your network needs the information you have to share. And how many newsletters can you read in a week?
Right. Would that come to their inbox or how would that work?
It depends on how you have your notifications set up, but you could also get an email notification of that as well. You know, I recommend monthly, not weekly. You know, don't spam people. We all get more newsletters than we can possibly read in a week, more emails than we could possibly read in a week. So yes, be respectful.
All right. Next question, and this is kind of on the same line as a previous question, but it says, have you ever experienced spam or scam that came from LinkedIn? And I'm sure it's all of us are yes, but I think it's probably to what degree.
How many times a day? It's very interesting because once you connect with somebody, they have access to your email address. So I'm very cautious about who I connect with. And, you know, there isn't a day that goes by that I don't block somebody. You know, you can fool me once, but I don't want you to fool me twice. I don't have the time or energy for that. So I'm really quick to block people that are pitching to me before they've even connected. Yes, you want to come up with a connection strategy for yourself so that it's super easy for you to go into LinkedIn and say yes, no with your invitations and not agonize about it. So who are possible referral partners? Who are professionals that could use your services? That kind of thing. For me, I'm always looking for somebody who might be, the speaker development person at an association because I like to do public speaking. So really think about what are the ways that you build your business and who are the people that can help you with that. Those are prime people that you want to connect with. And if they're from India and they're a website developer, maybe not.
Um, on that same note, if you put your personal contact info on your contact info on LinkedIn, or is there a general concern that that's going to increase the spam coming to your email and phone calls and things like that?
Slightly. It's not bad. I mean, I'm an introvert and I put my phone number in there, and I don't think I've ever gotten a phone call because of LinkedIn.
Okay.
I ignore my phone anyway, but I do check the messages. Um, Yesterday, I did get an email from somebody, but it's pretty rare. And I did look to see where it came from. I looked him up on LinkedIn immediately, and I'm pretty sure that that's where he got my email address from. But yeah, it's putting your contact information into the contact info on LinkedIn is a personal decision. I'm not going to tell somebody what they should do. What do you feel comfortable doing?
Okay. Good answer. How do you add video to your profile photo? I have creator mode, but I'm not aware of how to add the video content specifically.
It's called it's called Cover Story. Some people call it My Story. You have to do it on your mobile phone. So you want to get your mobile phone out. And my friends have told me that it's really 29 seconds. It's not 30 seconds. So be prepared to get cut off at the 29 seconds. Now, what you want to do is you really want to focus on just welcoming them to your profile. If there's something in particular that you'd like to point them to, like your about section or your work experience or your recommendations at the bottom, it's really very brief. You don't want to rush through it. Have the presence that you have all the time in the world to do it. So you might want to practice a couple of times before you hit record on your phone on LinkedIn, and go ahead and share that. Now, the name pronunciation is the same thing. LinkedIn is really shifting a lot of their great features to your mobile phone. So if you go to LinkedIn, to the above the fold view, there's a spot where it says, and you go into edit mode, there's a spot that says name pronunciation, and that's the same thing. I think you get 10 seconds. I have a friend from Namibia, and her name is impossible to pronounce, but it's a beautiful name. And I just helped her, and I said, Pamela, pronounce it in full dialect. I want to hear the real pronunciation. And she was just so happy. It's made a big difference for her.
That's great. And I mean, I don't have that problem, but I could see that, like, I mean, just because, but I could see if, someone had that over and
It's a
over
global
again,
world. We don't know everything.
and it makes people more comfortable if they can, pronounce your
Yes.
name, and it makes you probably easier to do business with.
Yes.
The scheduling tool in LinkedIn, can you discuss how it works?
The scheduling tool for content,
I
that's a
think
brand new
I think for
feature.
appointments.
Okay. Creator mode allows you to add a link to your profile. So if you're using creator mode, if that is turned on and you go to the above the fold content section and hit the edit button, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, it's going to say add a link. So for me, the calendar link is what I want to drive them to. Having a coffee chat with somebody is the way you start a relationship. I don't want them to think that it's an initial consultation or, I don't want to scare them with any of that. I just want to talk to people and get to know them. So I call it a coffee chat. Now, once you've added the link for your calendar, another line appears below that. And what you want to do there, just putting in the link, people don't know what to do with it. So what you want to do is you want to say schedule with me, or something that's a little bit more like a call to action. Now, I love emojis, so I put a little coffee cup and a calendar there so that people really get the visual effect of what that is. And it depends on what industry you're in. Attorneys are a little afraid to do things like that. But in the real estate industry, I think whatever
For
makes you
sure.
stand out, you should use.
Excellent. Thank you for that. Next question, we got about 8 more questions. What do you recommend people do if they have 10 to 15 minutes a day for the best results in farming or in relationship building on LinkedIn?
Excellent question. Thank you for that. The first thing you want to do is look at who's viewed your profile. This is my number one business development tip. Now, some of those people are going to be, they want to sell you a website, or they're going to make you a 7-figure coach in 90 days, or whatever the situation is. But some of them, you've been recommended and they looked at your profile, or your name has come up in conversation, or you came up in a search specifically for what you do. Now, those are people that I want to keep closer to me. So if somebody has looked at my profile and they're a second connection, I always reach back and say, thank you so much for looking at my profile. Is there anything I can do to help you professionally? Connect if you're interested. I get a 90% connection rate from that. And then for the next 2 weeks, LinkedIn is going to prompt them every time I post something. So they're going to get exposed to my content, and they're going to learn a lot more about me. And generally, they're going to sign up for my newsletter and stay close in my world.
Can you, sorry, can you repeat the action that the verbiage that you say back to them just one more time?
Thank you so much for looking at my profile. Well, I say hi, first name, first of all, of course. And then I say, is there anything I can do to help you professionally? Connect if you're interested. Angela.
Perfect. So it's very basic, but it's an action, a call to action. Hey, can I do anything for you? And then that opens the dialogue.
Yes.
Awesome. Next question. Can you please remind us the best place to have the word realtor for your profile optimization?
Ooh, that's great. I recommend anything that is a keyword for you, one of those quintessential keywords like mortgage lender or bridge loans or whatever it might be. You want to have that in at least 5 places on your profile. So key places for that to be is in the skills section, in your headline, in creator mode, in your about section, in your work experience as your title, and probably as another word. So you want to have it as many places as you can.
Excellent. Mia asks, do you find that LinkedIn has an algorithm similar to other social media sites such as Facebook, Instagram, that create optimal posting times?
My experience is there is no such thing as an optimal time to share content. If you look at the charts, and I have friends that do thousands of hours of research a year to find out what those optimal times are. Good content is going to get shared. it's going to get amplified. You can post at 2 o'clock in the morning. And if that post gets the right attention and gets circulated around and engaged with on LinkedIn, it's going to go viral if it's great content. Some of my posts, it's taken 2 weeks and they fell flat. And then all of a sudden, somebody who's an influencer commented on one of my posts, and there you go. It's off to the races again. So I don't really think there is an optimal time. Mondays are rough. If you're going to post on Mondays, make it short and sweet and inspirational. Sundays in the evening are great because a lot of professionals are getting ready for the week, but they're not at work yet, and they have time to read something that might be helpful to them. And then your best day is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Fridays, a lot of people check out altogether. And then it depends on who your audience is, but Saturday mornings can be really great.
All right. Maureen asks if you can explain Linktree.
Linktree is a free service. You can always upgrade to the premium, but you can put in a whole bunch of different links. Like for me, I have 109 videos on my YouTube channel. I want people to get lost there because they'll know very quickly whether I'm their person or not. They either like my style and what I have to say, or they don't. So it's a great place for me to do business development. You know, I also put my LinkedIn profile link there, my website link, my newsletter sign up, and my 10-day challenge, which is a business development challenge that has changed lots of different businesses. I want them to check that out and find out what I have as services. And then I also have a worksheet there, which is a template for the About section. How do you craft a client-focused About section that really helps you build relationships and convert and drive traffic?
Nice. Maureen, hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah, just look up Linktree, and it's linktr.ee.
Okay. Jeremy asks, in addition to the static elements of your profiles, what are some other ways we can differentiate ourselves from other agents, such as using messages, landing pages, and so on?
First of all, the most dynamic part of your LinkedIn profile is the featured section. If you are posting content, or you have wonderful resources or listings, or you wrote a book, add that to the featured section and change those things on a regular basis. There's no limit to what you can put into the featured section. Other thing, the number one strategy for staying visible on LinkedIn is to comment on things in the newsfeed. Relevant comments, and especially on people who might be influential or have large networks, is the number one way for you to stay visible and top of mind. But direct messaging, you know, there's no substitute for being personal. And in this world that we live in right now, it's the direct messaging, the personalization, the one-to-one that really works to build relationships.
Excellent. A couple more questions, if you have the time.
I do.
All right. When you search for realtors, when you were doing your search in preparation for this, were there hashtags or other markers? How could you have seen so many realtors mentioned in their profile?
Anybody who has ever used the word realtor in their profile will come up in a general search like that. I have a large network and I'm connected to a lot of influencers, so that's why my searches are so huge, but I didn't use a hashtag. You know, if I used a hashtag, what also will come up will be posts that have the word realtor in them. And I really wanted to focus just on people.
Got it. What is your view on free versus premium?
I love this question. It depends. I built my business completely using free LinkedIn. Now, over the past 3 years, LinkedIn has been stripping features from everything. Free LinkedIn does not have any of the features that it used to have. You cannot do unlimited advanced searches. You cannot save any of your searches. You cannot see who's viewed your profile past 3 to 5 people. There are lots of limitations with free LinkedIn, but if you're not going to use all those bells and whistles, if you don't have a strategy for using the bells and whistles, premium is really just handing LinkedIn money. So you really want to think about, are you going to use those features? They're pushing everything towards Sales Navigator. Even the 3 layers below that of premium have been stripped of many of their features because they're really trying to shove you into Sales Navigator. And Sales Navigator, it's about $1,000 a year, and you really want to know what you're doing when you use it. There's no stronger tool, but it's also a gigantic rabbit hole.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think for a lot of us, LinkedIn is a rabbit hole that we can go down without paying for premium or the advanced features. So Carol asks, can you talk about the differences between articles, posts, documents, and interests?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Articles are a much longer form content. So if you go to where it says create a post, over in the bottom right corner, it's going to say write an article, and it's a whole different format feature on LinkedIn. Now, it's one of the only places where you're allowed to use formatting, like hyperlinks and bolding and that sort of thing. That is for, if you have a newsletter and you want to publish it as an article and have it live on your LinkedIn profile forever, it's a great option. Now, a regular post is considered a more short form. 500 words, I think, is an average for that. If you're going to use the article feature, I recommend 1,000 to 2,000 words for that. The algorithms are going to pay attention to the articles, but most people are not going to read a full article. The short form gets read a little bit more often. So you want to save that for something that, I was talking with a client the other day and this came up and I just wanted to share it. An article is something I wrote, probably my most controversial newsletter last night about ChatGPT. And my intent with that was really just to inform. And interestingly enough, realtors love ChatGPT because they can write home descriptions quickly and optimize them a little bit better and, really clean them up and make them sound a little bit more romantic using ChatGPT. Now, it is a form of AI that it learns as you go. So it can pick up a little bit of your parameters and your tone, your desired tone, if you give it the right instructions. You don't want to use it too much, and you definitely want to make it your own. So it was posts, articles. What was the other one?
Just a sec. Posts, articles, documents, and interests.
Documents don't get a lot of attention, but they are great to add to your featured section, especially if it's something like an infographic or a slideshow or something that really offers a lot of information that's quick to digest by whoever is looking at it. And I apologize, Patrick, I am going to have to go. I have another appointment, but I want to thank you so much for having me here, and everybody have a really great day.
Do you have one more second?
One more second.
Okay. If someone wanted to get in contact with you, should they reach out on LinkedIn?
Yes, they should. You knew the answer to that before you asked it.
Angela, I want to thank you so much for your time and really appreciate it. I know everyone who was on stayed on the whole time. That usually means your content was riveting. So thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.